All right, Easter. We're told around Easter, which is, I think, the third weekend in April, by which time we are told that Joe Biden will be formally making it official and announcing he's going to run for the presidency. But again, this keeps getting pushed back, and in the interim, things come back to haunt him, including his own words, and going back to the days he was chairing the Clarence Thomas hearings, and he regretted, in retrospect, the treatment of Anita Hill. That prompted some pretty sharp reporting. I just want to quote from Danielle Chalakian? Is that what it is? The New York Daily News column writer. She was saying, yes, you could have done something. You spouted this pablum in December 2017, then again during the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearing. What she goes on to say, if he truly refers to Joe Biden, wants to apologize, he needs to take responsibility for his past actions. If he doesn't, voters have to believe that he's not the same person who facilitated Hillary's or Anita Hill's torment in 1991. In other words, a base that would normally like you is saying enough of the words of apology coming from you.
You know, I think age has always been the challenge for Joe Biden, whether it's...
This is more territory to cover.
Right, whether it's just his physical age, which is going to come up whenever he gets in the campaign over and over, or just the record on issues. And if you just think about it, it's not to excuse anything that he said in the past. Right. He's been in public life and public service at a time when the norms in society were much different than they are.
Very different. But
today.
You're right, age is an issue. So much of an issue that your host failed to introduce you.
Yes, right.
I thought Connell, McShane, Kat Timpf is here. And Robert Wolf, my very young producer, reminded me of that by shouting in my ear, "Hey, Pops, you didn't. You got these other people here." Robert, I'm wondering. I mean, obviously, Joe Biden is the one everyone talks about. That he's the one who can close the deal. But I'm wondering, more and more stuff like this comes out. You know, not bad stuff, but just I regret this. I regret saying that Vice President Pence is a decent guy, and not to dial that back. I'm wondering if this would implode on him.
So, one, I don't think it's going to implode on him. And I've been fortunate to meet most of the candidates who are running, and I spoke to the vice president recently. The Democratic Party has a bunch of different issues that everyone has to be for. We could go through the checkbox of climate change and health care and gun reform and immigration reform and income inequality. But the number one topic is going to be who can beat President Trump. All of these things aside, they all check the boxes. All 15 candidates are there somewhere on the spectrum. So someone like Joe Biden today is the front runner in today's Quinnipiac poll because he is deemed the one with the best name recognition, but more importantly is deemed the one that can beat the president because...
Well, that was Hillary Clinton in 2008, right? That was Hillary Clinton in 2016.
It may not have been, by the way.
I'm only responding to where we are today because we're 300 days away from Iowa, almost 600 from the presidential election. And you're right, in 2007, and when I was backing Barack Obama at 2%, Hillary was at 65%. So you're right, things will change. But today, he's in a pretty good position because name recognition, when you have 10 people running, is definitely important.
But I wonder, Kat, to what degree, because then you're going to get more focus, too, on everything you've done. And the trouble with being an older candidate is there's a record there that goes back. There's nothing wrong with old, by the way. But there's a record that goes back to times when, as Connell said, were very, very different.
Right. Unfortunately, all of his positives can also be negatives. People can say, oh, he has a lot of experience. He knows what he's doing. You can flip that and say, okay, well, he's old. And also, there's all these things that he may have said or done in the past, spanning back much further than these other candidates that you can sort of nitpick. And also, because he is seen as the front runner and does have the most name recognition, he's going to have to face tougher media scrutiny than a lot of the people that are coming in just as new stars.
Right.
People like to write fun little profiles about people like, oh, look, Mayor Pete, check him out. That's like the perfect kind of candidate for someone to write a profile about that's just nice and kind of, more creative rather than trying to take someone down.
I think he's gone through all the controversial things he's said, and his staff has more or less said, all right, today, why don't you talk about Anita Hill and how you handled that, and this is before the Me Too movement, and make an apology for that and all this. And if you were to believe this one left-leaning writers. No, don't do that. You're being patronizing.
Yeah, but it'll still come up in every debate, right? And in
Right.
just about every interview he does, he'll have to keep answering them over and over. And to Kat's point, someone like Pete Buttigieg or Beto or whoever it is doesn't necessarily have those issues. The other thing about the matchups, which I think is interesting, is that, and Robert's obviously right, that the numbers show it. The last Fox National poll was 47 Biden, 40 Trump, and that matches up much better than any of the other candidates. All of that's either present.
That's a nationwide.
Yeah, and I don't know how much value we put in that early, but it's still, when you compare it to everybody else, he's in much better shape. But that's now, or looking backwards. I think a lot of Democrats, I don't know if Robert may be one of them, would say that, Biden's the guy that could have beat Trump the last time around. So the risk for Biden remains. Will day one of his campaign, whenever that is, be the best day of his campaign?
It's all about following the money, though, right? I mean, he can raise a lot of money, but the word is he wants to Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think anyone's going to raise more money than Beto or Bernie Sanders, because what they're doing online we've never seen. That being said, there's at least 8 candidates who can last through Iowa, if not longer. And no one's a real front runner. Today's poll, Joe was at 20-ish%. So when we talk about front runners, he's really in many ways, the placeholder,
well,
right?
Plus, in a lot of the polls where he has the largest share of the vote, those don't have an undecided option.
Right.
So when there's an undecided option, the number of the share of the vote that he has goes down, because a lot of it could just be like, oh, I know this guy's name. All right, this guy.
Right, and as those name recognition numbers go up for all of these other candidates, and again, the flavor of the week is Pete Buttigieg, right?
Pete was at my office last week. I mean, I agree with you.
You're like Dick Clark.
No, not at all. Hey, listen. If your goal is to beat this president, you have to meet with the candidates.
Right.
Okay. And one thing
they have to meet with guys like you.
One thing we're not saying, which happens to be true, is our party likes young and aspirational.
Right.
There hasn't been a president since before. Over the age of 53 since before John F. Kennedy as a Democrat.
So the risk is that Biden's numbers top out as Mayor Pete or Beto, whoever goes up, and that you come in at 32 or 29 or whatever it is, and that's where you are.
I think we have no clue.
But Barack Obama, your friend, is concerned enough to sort of get a message out to some of those far-left candidates. These big goals are great, but you got to pay for them.
Well, you still have to win the blue wall.
Right.
And my gut tells me in industrial America, they're not necessarily supporting the Green New Deal or some of the other issues. And we have seen with President Trump, we have to be able to take back Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan like we did in the midterms.
Right. All right. We'll see. Those are 3 key states that he won and provided his electoral victory. When we come back here, the battle against targeting the rich right now. It's a popular theme that they don't pay enough, and now an improving and actually rapidly rising percentage of Americans agree. We do not assume that they're rich. After this.